everyone is on board with the California plan to fight gerrymandering in Texas with more gerrymandering in its own state. But it did just get a big stamp of approval today from former President Obama. He told donors at a fundraiser in Martha's Vineyard that actually took place yesterday that I believe that Governor Newsom's approach is a responsible approach. He said this is going to be responsible. We're not going to try to completely maximize it, adding we're only going to do it if and when Texas and our other Republican states begin to pull these maneuvers. Otherwise, this doesn't go into effect. Here now from California, State Senator Dr. Akilah Weber Pierson, who's a Democrat, chair of the state's Legislative Black Caucus. Welcome, welcome. We've been talking to people in Texas and California. This thing keeps going and going. Pick up on what the former president is saying there, because the pushback from others has been nobody wins in the long term. It's kind of a race to the bottom.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Connell, for having me, and it is my honor to be here to have this conversation with you. I absolutely agree with President Obama's statement. This is something that will only be triggered based on what Texas is doing. And I wouldn't say that it's a race to the bottom. I would say that what we are doing is we're looking out for the interest of Californians and actually the interest of all Americans, because the policies of this administration are really, really hurting everyday Americans. And what we are seeing in Texas, based on the request of President Trump, is to essentially rig the system so that they do not have to be accountable for the policies that they have done during his term.
What I mean by a race to the bottom is that, to your point, Texas does this, you respond by that, and Indiana gets in, or New York, and so on and so forth, and it goes down the line. And a few years from now, we're already moving in this direction. Primaries don't matter, and candidates are more and more extreme, and that's the race to the bottom, where the people are suffering and don't really have proper representation. Isn't that a fair concern?
It is definitely a concern, and this is one of the reasons why I was very disheartened by the fact that Texas would even consider it, and that the President of the United States would actually request for a state to do something like this, because it is undemocratic, especially when you don't even allow the voters to have a say in whether or not they actually do that. That is what separates California from Texas. We will be bringing this to the voters so that ultimately they will have the decision. But the reason why we are doing this is because we do not want to end up at the bottom. And that is exactly where we're heading right now under this administration. By the policies that they have passed, people are hurting. Lives are not less they're actually more expensive. They're not. Affordability is continuing to be a problem. We're seeing issues within our healthcare space. I'm a practicing physician as well. I am very concerned about what is going to happen to our entire healthcare system. And so because of those things, because we do not want Americans to end up at the bottom in terms of health outcomes, in terms of educational outcomes, in terms of our environmental exposures. Right. That is why we are responding and the way in which we are responding.
The way in which you're responding being led by the governor of California, what would you say about the way Governor Newsom has been conducting all of this? I chuckle a little bit because of all the, the social media stuff where he's been kind of mocking the president, and, how much of this is to build his own profile up politically, just to run in 2028 for president, and how much of it's about that versus the people of California, would you say?
Well, I can't speak to what the governor's social media team is doing, but what I can say is that the governor is looking out for the people of California. He has during his entire term. We have worked as a legislative body very well and very closely with this governor. And what California is doing is a response to the hurt that Californians are feeling every day, and the response to the hurt that we will continue to feel, and the inability for people to be able to truly be accountable for the actions that they have taken during this administration.
All right, State Senator, thank you tonight. We'll follow this. We've been following Texas today. We'll follow California as long as it goes. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. It's just about 23 past the hour. Well, speaking of California.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.